You ever have someone pretend to be your friend? Just to use you? Yeah, that happened to me back in the 90s. When floppy disks were still a thing, when every new PC game felt like treasure. But when this one girl betrayed me, stole every game I owned, I decided to give her a lesson she'd never forget. Let's just say, she learned the hard way that karma sometimes arrives in an envelope. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who pretended to be your friend, hit that like button, because this story will absolutely satisfy your inner sense of justice. Subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that prove karma might take its time, but it never forgets. Alright, let's rewind to the 90s. No smartphones. No internet. Just chunky monitors, floppy disks, and the smell of burnt dust every time you booted up your PC. I was 15, a total computer nerd before it was even remotely cool. There weren't many girls who played games back then, so I was sort of an oddball. My best friend, Leah, and I would save every bit of allowance we had to buy games from abroad: Monkey Island, The Settlers, Doom 2. These games were everything to us. We'd trade, copy, and share them, passing floppy disks like sacred relics. Back then, having a new game made you feel powerful. Like you had access to a secret world no one else could touch. Then came Sophie. The new girl in class. She was loud, confident, always surrounded by people, one of those girls who could make everyone laugh but somehow make you feel small at the same time. When she found out I played PC games, her eyes lit up. My uncle has tons of games, she bragged one day during lunch. Like, all of them. Leah and I exchanged glances. Tons of games? We were hooked. We thought we'd found a kindred spirit, another gamer girl. Someone who got it. So we made a deal. We'd lend her our games to copy, and she'd trade us hers. Fair, right? At first, everything seemed fine. We'd hand Sophie our carefully labeled floppy disks, and she'd smile and promise to bring the copies next week. But when we tried her copies? Corrupted. Unplayable. Sometimes even missing entire files. The first few times, we gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe her computer was bad. Maybe she didn't know how to copy properly, but then we started noticing something else. When she did return our games, they were scratched. Labels torn. Some even cracked, and yet, every time I visited her, she'd brag about playing the very games she'd borrowed from us. The ones she supposedly couldn't copy. That's when it hit me. She wasn't making mistakes. She was stealing from us. I remember sitting in my room, holding a ruined copy of Monkey Island 2, my favorite game, and just staring at it. My hands were shaking. My chest tight. The betrayal burned like acid in my throat. She had used us. Mocked us. And worst of all, she acted like we were lucky to even talk to her. But Sophie wasn't just a thief, she was cruel, too. Whenever she saw me in my Queen t-shirt, Freddie Mercury's face across the front, she'd smirk and whisper, "Oh look, it's the gay guy's fan club president." The others would laugh. And I'd just swallow it, pretending it didn't hurt, but it did. Every single time. Then one day, our class attended this big event, an AIDS awareness campaign organized by a local foundation. They handed out flyers, pamphlets, and these little packets of condoms with the foundation's logo on them. Most people giggled, stuffed them into their bags, or threw them away, but as I looked down at that logo, the clean, professional letterhead, something clicked in my head, and when I glanced at Leah, I knew she was thinking the same thing. We didn't even need to speak. We both smiled, that slow, dangerous smile. The one that says, "Let's make things right." Leah and I were two of the only kids in class who had a computer and an inkjet printer at home. That was basically witchcraft in the 90s.so. We used a. We carefully copied the foundation's logo, formatted a fake letter, and started typing, "Dear Sophie, thank you for your letter. We understand it's difficult being open about being homosexual and that you may have many questions after attending our event. Please find enclosed some materials that may help, as well as a few condoms for safe practice. Sincerely, the AIDS Awareness Foundation." We proofread it a dozen times, giggling nervously the whole way, then, with trembling hands, we tucked in every flyer and condom we'd collected at the event. We sealed it up, addressed it to her parents, and dropped it in the mail. I can still feel my heart pounding as we walked away from that mailbox. We thought, maybe, it would just embarrass her a little. Make her sweat. Nothing serious. We had no idea what kind of chaos we were about to unleash. A few days later, Sophie stopped coming to school. Rumors spread fast. Someone had apparently sent a letter to her parents from the AIDS Foundation, thanking her for coming out. Her mother, a deeply religious woman, was devastated. Her father? Furious. They thought Sophie was gay. And they were not okay with that. We heard yelling stories, that her mom was crying, that her dad had grounded her indefinitely. The whole neighborhood was whispering. Leah and I would pass each other in the hallways, trying not to laugh, but also a tiny bit horrified. We hadn't expected it to blow up this badly. When Sophie finally came back to school, she looked like a ghost. Her usual bright, cocky attitude was gone. She avoided everyone, even her so-called friends. And when her eyes met mine across the classroom, I swear she knew that it didn't take long for her to figure out the truth. We weren't exactly discreet. We asked around a little too eagerly, checked her reaction a little too often. One afternoon, she cornered us behind the gym. Her voice was shaking with rage. "You did this, didn't you?" she hissed. "You sick freaks." I tried to play dumb, but Leah cracked a grin, and that was enough. Next thing we knew, we were sitting in the principal's office. Her parents were there, red-faced with fury. The principal, who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. And us, two teenagers who'd just pulled off the most genius, horrifying prank of our lives. We got a lecture, of course. A long one. Our parents were called. There were apologies, letters, the whole deal, but deep down, even as I pretended to feel sorry, there was this quiet, burning satisfaction in my chest, because for the first time since Sophie had made me feel small, powerless. She was the one who looked humiliated. She was the one who'd learned what it felt like to be mocked, judged, and exposed, and honestly, it felt good. Looking back now, I know it was childish. Cruel, even. But when you're a teenager, betrayal cuts deep, and sometimes, revenge feels like the only way to take back your power. I regret it. Maybe a little. But would I do it again if I could go back to that moment, holding my broken game discs and that smug smirk on her face? Yeah. I think I would. If this story gave you chills, or made you grin just a little, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where karma always delivers.